Okay, I can see that there's quite a few people who have joined so far. I am going to get us moving along for the day, and I'm sure more will join as we speak. My name is Amy Ben. I am the Program Lead for Innovate Durban. Welcome to the start of the Youth Innovation Challenge Workshop Week. We are very excited that we've reached this point. I know you've received probably dozens of emails from me at this point, and we're very excited about the group of YRC participants this year. Already you guys are showing us you're awesome, you're interested, and you're going to come up with epic innovative solutions. Before we start with our agenda, just a couple of house rules. At the moment, you'll see you should have access to a Q&A option. You should also have option for a raise hand function. For the beginning of the session, we obviously got a very firm agenda that you would have received. Later on in the day, we have opportunities for you guys to ask questions. Obviously, if we weren't in the middle of a global pandemic, we would all be together and you would have a much easier way to communicate, to ask questions, etc. So the raise hand function is there. We're here until 2:30 today. So once we've done with the formal agenda for the day, pop in, pop out, ask as many questions as you want. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Aurelia Albert to get us started on the agenda for the day. Thanks, Aurelia.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this year's Youth Innovation Challenge. This is the first time we're doing it differently, part virtual, part in person. So very exciting for us. I'd also like to welcome our new partners for this year, Software AG, who have joined us for this year's Youth Innovation Challenge. Software AG has partnered with us on the Innovation Collab project, which some of you are visiting during the course of this and the next few weeks. So welcome to Software AG as our new partner for this year. I'd also like to thank once again our partners that have been with us for the last few years. It is Zutari, which you would previously have known as Oricon South Africa. They've just recently changed their branding and name. I'd also like to welcome back on board Adams&Adams, as well as the Domino Foundation. So thank you to our partners. Without our partners, Youth Innovation Challenge would definitely not be possible. I also would like to, before I forget, thank our amazing team for putting this together. So Amy's leading this team together with Sakibo, Lindalwa, and the others from our team. They put together an amazing program for this year. As I said, it is different because we are running it on a virtual, or part virtual, part in-person basis. But a lot of exciting activities this year. I know every year when I do my opening, I'm always reminding people of all the opportunities that Youth Innovation Challenge brings to you. And just to remind you, we've been running this for the last 6 years or so, since 2013. My math may be off a bit. But yeah, for the past 6 to 7 years, running this initially through eThekwini Municipality, and then when Innovate Durban became an independent organization as a nonprofit, we continued running with this program. And it's just gained momentum every year, and we're so happy that we can still keep on partners that have been with us for the last few years and also introduce new partners. And I think it just shows people and also participants the value of this program and how much it can add to you as an individual and the work that you're doing. So we're all young people here today, and also those who are participating in this year's program. I want you to really use these opportunities that you gain from this experience. There's going to be a lot thrown at you during this week, especially because it is a capacity building week. A lot of new ideas, a lot of new concepts, a lot of new ways to go about solving your problems and challenges, coming up with different solutions, learning about new software. I'm not much of a tech junkie, but hopefully after this week and after the Software AG classes, you will know a lot more than I do. So really looking forward to learning about the new technology that's out there, design thinking, and all the different capacity building workshops that are put together by the partners this week. Please really use that to learn and to get more knowledge on subjects that maybe you only know a little about at this stage. And then also use this opportunity to collaborate with each other and to network with each other, not only with the participants or your peers that are involved in the program within your groups, but also the experts that are available through the partners and through the mentors that we have made available for you this week. The lab is open for you to come through and use it if you need to, if you'd like that experience of working together in person. The lab is open for you, but yeah, like Amy said, it is a part virtual program, so we also have the Zoom channel that's open this week. Yeah, so I think without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all and wish you all the best for the next few weeks. It's quite an exciting few weeks. I'll be hopefully meeting all of you at some point. I will be popping into the lab during the course of the week, and also future programs and parts of the program. So all the best to everyone and the team, as well as the partners who are involved in this year's Youth Innovation Challenge. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Aurelia. Yeah, like Aurelia said, this is a YRC that's very different. It's not our normal YRC, but which just makes it that much more exciting to kind of explore and discover new ways to do stuff, innovate the YRC. We've invited two of the winners of last year's Youth Innovation Challenge just to share a bit about their experience of the Youth Innovation Challenge, what they learned, and yeah, a bit about kind of how it helped them and move them forward. So I'm going to hand over first to Tabiso. Again, like I said, one of the winners of last year's YRC. Over to you, Tabiso.
Hi guys, I'm Tabiso Mutelezi. I was part of the YIC team that took.
Sorry, Tabiso, I just muted you. I'm not sure, there's just quite a lot of feedback happening where you are. I'm going to hand over rather to New Eng Innovations, and I know you are based at our lab this morning, so we're breaking the illusion of the youth and of the virtual. And if you can join where Sakiwo is and maybe join from his computer, that would be great. Sakiwo, if you want to just put your mask on and keep Tabiso safe. So I'm going to instead just hand over to the guys from New Eng Innovations, also winners of one of the prizes last year. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to you guys if you would also share with us. Thank you again for joining us.
Hi everyone. I'm not sure if I'm audible or visible at this point, but okay, that's a thumbs up. Okay, sure. So I represent a company called New Eng Innovations. We won second prize in last year's YIC. And I just want to share a bit of insights as people who've been through the program. The first and most important one I can say is that YIC is not about a competition. I feel like maybe Innovate Durban needs to specify a bit more on that. It's more of an opportunity to learn. We went there with the idea that it's just a regular competition. We're going to get our money and go start our business elsewhere. But when we entered into the competition, into the workshop that is starting today, we realized that we didn't know a lot about business or even starting a product to begin with. That's when we learned about things like design thinking and all the other things. I only say design thinking because that's probably the one we took the most into our business per se. So after we won second place, that's when we realized that it's not about the money, because we finished that money in record time, less than a month probably. But then the skills that we learned from YIC, we are using those skills to build our business today. Today, every client and every product we have under our production line comes from a connection we made at the YIC prize giving event. So in my own experience and in like as a representative of my company, we can say that everyone should be looking to learn, to enjoy the YIC, and also to make connections, because to us, that's been the most important thing we got out of YIC. Of course, the money helped here and there. It was a fun thing to spend. But like I said, it goes through faster than you think, but the knowledge and the skills you get from this competition will serve you throughout your whole life. So to the participants, my three-step advice is to learn, enjoy, and make connections. I feel like that's all I can say. I try to wrap it up as quick as I can.
Awesome, thank you so much. Absolutely, couldn't agree with that more. Yes, there is a competition element to the Youth Innovation Challenge. But more importantly, we want to make sure we are sharing knowledge, equipping innovators, equipping our participants, you guys who are participating, to take that next step forward. So thank you so much. That was really beneficial advice and feedback. So Biso, I'm going to hand over to you. Hopefully we've solved our feedback problem.
Awesome. Are we good now? Hi guys. Again, I'm Tabiso Butelezi. I was part of the YIC team that took first place last year. And I think the guy that just came off said probably everything that I would have said personally. And I think we were more lucky because I was able to be part of the Innovator Support Program of Innovate Durban. So in me saying that is that the skills that you guys are going to learn in the workshops are the same skills that I learned in the Innovator Support Program. So I was able to integrate it and apply it to my team, and when we just working around our idea. And so it's just about the value, guys. It's the value of the workshop and everything. And the guys, right, it's not about the money. It's not about winning. It is about winning, fine, because it's a competition at the end, but it's more about gaining the connections, and just being part of such an initiative it's something that's going to boost your confidence first and foremost, you know. So I think the most important thing as well is when you guys are working as a team, you need to be in sync, you know. There's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements, but mostly it's about teamwork and applying it effectively and efficiently. So it's just being creative, you know, be creative, be open-minded. I think we're at a time right now where we have like look at the competition, just say it's virtual, you know, it's a completely different experience. So times are changing, things are changing. So I think it's an opportunity for you guys to come up with ideas that are really going to solve social issues, you know, because we have a lot of issues. That's the best part. As much as the pandemic is here, but it opens opportunity for a lot of things, you know. It's the problems that we didn't know existed before the pandemic, but now there's an opportunity for you guys to come up with ideas that are going to solve those issues. And it's just being also just attending the full course of the program, you know. You can't be one day on, the other day off, you know, because once you're off the first day or second day, it's done, you know. So, and just, I don't know how many guys, how many people in each team, but I think the most important thing is everybody needs to have a role, you know. Not everybody's going to do the same thing. And once you do that, you guys are going to be efficient, you're going to be effective, and you're going to get things done quickly and efficiently. So I just want to say good luck, and really listen to the guys that are going to be handling the workshops throughout the whole week. Just listen to them, because how we were able to come up with a prototype was that we called them over to our table to ask for assistance on how to do something. And they gave us an idea, they gave us a platform that we can actually create our prototype, and that made us win. So whatever they say, it's not just for fun and games. So just listen to them effectively, and just make sure, guys, that pay attention to everything they say. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tabiso. Yeah, that was really beneficial, really helpful. I'm hoping that everyone really listened to both of you guys and the advice you gave, and particularly about sticking it through and the value beyond just this week, kind of for future involvement as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand over now to our partners. The first partner I'm going to hand over to Software AG. So I'm going to hand over to Robin now, just to share a bit about Software AG and their involvement in the Youth Innovation Challenge. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the workshop week for the Youth Innovation Challenge. My name is Robin, and I'm from Software AG. Software AG is the key technology partner for the Youth Innovation Challenge this year. And we are a German technology company with a key focus on software development and building innovative technology solutions. I think the reason Software AG decided to be part of the Youth Innovation Challenge is because we believe that we need to build solutions that are effective for the community. And what better place to do that than with the people who live within that community, especially in Durban. And Innovate Durban has really given us the platform to advance that and give you guys the opportunity, to be great and get your solutions out there and work on them and hopefully bring them to life. So from our side, our technology specialist will be hosting the technology workshop on Wednesday and Thursday this week. We look forward to being on this journey with you, and we really can't wait to see what you come up with and what comes out of this. I don't want to say competition because we've already said the main focus isn't the competition, but yes, what you come out with at the end of this journey with Innovate Durban, Software AG, and all the other partners. So good luck for the week ahead, and always work with a winning mindset and a learning mindset. That's all from us. Thank you, Amy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. Yeah, that was great to really have on board a partner and a tech partner who is so keen on actually making beneficial impacts and changes to the community. So really that's what Innovate Durban is about, and very stoked to have you guys on board this year. I'm now going to hand over to Zutari. Zutari has been a partner on the Youth Innovation Challenge for a number of years, would have been previously known as Oricon. I'm not going to obviously give too much away, but I'm going to hand over to you, Kosiki. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kosiki. I'm from Zutari, previously known as Oricon. You may have heard of us before. Might have been at your school trying to get you to apply for bursary or something. I know we do that a lot. We are consulting engineers, and in terms of how we are supporting Youth Innovation Challenge, we've partnered for a number of years before I was actually involved as well. And the main thing that we do is we sort of try to equip all the participants with what is known as design thinking tools, which sort of helps you to look at solutions to complex problems by putting the end user and putting everyone who is actually involved in that, in both the problem and the solution, at the center of the solution, and trying to solve the solution for everybody. And it uses very, very interesting tools to sort of look at solutions, look at problems, unpack a problem, question whether you have the right problem, and things of that nature. It really helps you to unlock more value in whatever solution you come up with, no matter if you're designing a pen, a chair, a social security system, a medical aid system, a building, a car, and then over and above that, we do in certain situations try to provide opportunities to sort of take your prize-winning idea further and develop it also by exposing you to some of our expertise. So yeah, just to, before I waffle too much, I think the main thing is we're just here to support you guys from a design point of view, from sort of understanding what you're trying to achieve, make sure that your solution is actually achieving it. And yeah, we'll definitely be available for questions, bounce ideas off of, things of that nature. So yeah, if I can say anything in closing, is definitely learn everything that you can. I think Tabiso said it very well. It's an opportunity to build the connections that are going to help you even take your idea forward and any other ideas you have forward. And that's not only in terms of amongst yourselves, also with the partners. So don't be afraid to make use of those opportunities.
Absolutely, thanks Kosiki for sharing. There's definitely a reason that we start the first day with design thinking. And so it's obviously every element is important, but like Kosiki said, it is such an important element in developing your solution. So we've said it already, but we really encourage you guys to spend time. Our partners have made themselves available. When you have questions, ask those questions. Don't waste this opportunity, especially late in the day, to chat to the Zutari guys, to bounce ideas, etc. off of them. Thank you so much, Kosiki. I'm going to hand over now to Sean. Sean is from the Domino Foundation, also a long-time partner on the Youth Innovation Challenge. So thank you, Sean.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Hey, guys. So my name is Sean. I am from the Domino Foundation. And yeah, we are a non-profit organization based here in Durban. And our kind of heart is, yeah, we believe in providing people with opportunities to reach their full potential. And so for us, that is at this time, what this looks like on our skills program is partnering with the Youth Innovation Challenge, just to release the youth into finding solutions for this year for our incredible city of Durbs, of eThekwini. Yeah, Domino works with individuals from impoverished communities, kind of walking a cradle to career journey with those individuals. And so it's kind of perfectly aligned with the YIC outcome and desire to see Durban flourish and the people of the city flourish. And so I think what's been really exciting is this is an innovation challenge. I think we've all found ourselves, as we've said, in the midst of a crisis. And obviously during this crisis, that kind of has revealed to us our ability to rethink, restructure, and reimagine things as we kind of make our way out of this COVID time. And that's kind of essentially also the building blocks of innovation. And so, as everyone has mentioned, the opportunity that you guys as candidates find yourselves with is you have this opportunity to reimagine a better city and a better future for Durban and for her people. And so we're really excited to be a part of that. As you'll go through the week, through all the kind of course material, you'll learn, as our students have said and Aurelia has mentioned. I think the key takeaway is that this is an incredible opportunity to grow yourself and your ideas. And so we're really excited to back YIC, to back Innovate Durban, and we can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So just some encouragement, take hold of this opportunity, work hard, and we can't wait to see you at the end of the week and see what you come up with. Enjoy, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, and both for your wisdom in creating a better Durban, both Domino Foundation and obviously you and as Sean. And we value your guys' involvement and your support in, like Robin said, making a better Durban and creating a better Durban for everyone who lives here. I'm going to hand over to our final partner who's joining us today. Adams&Adams are a Durban-based IP firm. I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm gonna hand over to Vishen, who is one of the partners at Adams&Adams. Thanks, Vishen.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Vishen Pillay. I'm one of the managing partners of Adams&Adams Attorneys. As Amy mentioned, we do have headquarters in Durban, but we are actually a Pan-African IP firm. We're the largest intellectual property law firm in Africa. We generally focus on assisting businesses protecting their intellectual property. So protecting their innovations, protecting their new technologies, etc. And part of our partnership, we've been partners with Innovate Durban for a long time, is to support and foster that innovation. And coupled with that is to assist all you innovators in protecting whatever it is that you come up with. So we're here to assist, we're here to help. Any legal questions, that's why we're here. We'll be available on the workshops, and you can obviously liaise with Amy and Sakiro and the team if there's any legal related questions that you need. If you have any, or you need any assistance and advice in protecting yourselves, protecting your technologies, that's what we're here for. So all the best. I'm sure that this is going to be an exciting few days for you, and good luck. Ciao. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vishen. Definitely invaluable partner to both YIC and Innovate Durban, given kind of the space that we exist in or work in. There were a couple of questions that came through while we were meeting. Before I address those questions, I do just want to mention also the municipality. They are also a partner each year generally on the Youth Innovation Challenge. We are working, obviously you would all know this, on the Smart City initiative that falls under the municipality, and all the challenges came out of that program. Unfortunately, they weren't able to join us today, but will be with us tomorrow. But we did obviously want to acknowledge them. I want to say thanks to all the partners who have joined us today. We're going to move on to the more nitty-gritty, reviewing kind of the design thinking elements and the program rules and stuff like that. You're welcome to stay if you want, but obviously you're not required for this next part of the session. I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to stay or leave, but yeah, leave when you want to, stay when you do. Just the two questions we did have were around whether we could have a look at those past innovative ideas. You definitely can. A bunch of our innovations are highlighted on our website. I don't want to necessarily share our past Innovate YIC winners solutions now, just because I don't want to influence anybody. So I don't want you to see what they did and what they did to win and see that. Maybe a little bit unfair, but luckily we make the rules, so that's what it is. And then one other question that was asked was to the past winners specifically, was whether they had wished they'd done anything differently or overcome past mistakes, and the New Engage did answer that question directly to the person who asked it. Particularly noted that the program is well structured and offers easy to understand information, and I know you all would have received your resource packs these last few weeks, so hopefully those have been very helpful. They did note that it was only after participating in the YIC that they realized kind of the full capacity of Innovate Durban programs. So something we do want everyone to definitely be aware of is Youth Innovation Challenge is only one of, a host, dozens of different things that we do to support innovation and innovators, etc. So whether it's just the YIC that you're interested in, we hope you have a great time with us during this journey, during this competition, but do know that there's a lot of other things that we do as Innovate Durban. So if you've got ideas, if you want to come to the collab after the YIC, we are here and open for that. I'm going to share my screen now. As per the agenda, I'm just going to go over some of the program rules and just need to know. Most of this you would have been told already, but just to make sure everyone's clear as we kind of start this week going forward. Can one of the panelists just confirm that everyone can see my screen?
Yes, Amy.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aurelia. Yeah, so really this is just day one, just looking at the rules, the regulations, any kind of need to know things. So you would have seen obviously on the agenda how the workshop week works. We've got 5 days together. Today is obviously the launch and also the design thinking review and opportunity to, like we said, pop in, ask questions, and make sure you've kind of started your solution development off on the right path. Tomorrow we will look at a challenge deep dive. This is specifically an opportunity to look at the different challenges, at the challenges you're addressing or the challenge you're addressing, to make sure you fully understand that challenge, you've considered all the elements, an opportunity to ask the municipality questions if you have any questions, and really once you've kind of started that process, that design thinking process, to make sure that you fully understand the challenge before beginning your solution. Day 3 and day 4 are also very important days. Like Robin mentioned earlier, this is around the tech capacity building. So this is where Software AG will be sharing around their tools that can be used to develop solutions. You obviously, during the course of, not last week, but the week before, would have received the resource pack with tutorials and links to a host of those tools. So while every day is important, obviously day 3 and day 4, between 9:30 and 11:30, you'll be able to hear directly from the Software AG tech team around those tools. And then day 4, we also look a little bit around further solution development. around innovating for social good. Adams&Adams is available that day for questions as you kind of move along on that solution development process. And then day 5, obviously any solution that is developed that speaks to a challenge needs to be feasible, needs to be desirable. It doesn't help creating a solution that costs millions of rands that no one actually wants. So day 5, we focus really around business plan development, making sure that the solution you are coming up with, that you're developing, makes sense. At the end of the day, someone's going to want to buy it. You know, someone's going to want to invest in it. And then also just looking around pitching that solution. You might have the best solution, but you may not know how to pitch that well. And so we spend a bit of time on day 5 looking at pitch training and making sure everyone knows how to pitch their solution in a way that gets people interested in that solution. So that's the next 5 days, but obviously that's not the end of this challenge. So what happens next? So after the workshop week, we go into a process of prototype development. And during prototype development, like we've said, all participants are expected to develop a prototype of their solution. Whether your solution is a digital solution or a physical solution, by the end of the prototype development phase, we want to be able to see something in real life that looks to the solution, not just something on a PowerPoint presentation, for example. So during this phase, like this workshop week, the Innovation Co-Lab is open for all participants to use for your prototype development. Similar to this week, you have to book just so that we aren't flooded with people and you know, everyone is given fair access. You can either use the collab just for internet access, come and sit, we've got high speed fiber, you can work with your group and just develop your prototype, or you may need to use the machinery. You may need to 3D print something, you may need to laser cut something, etc. We've obviously got that kind of those kind of tools at the lab, so that's accessible during the prototype development week. And at the same time, while the solution has been developed and the prototype is under development, there's also a process of pitch deck development. Like I said, at the end of this, everyone is going to have to pitch your solution, and obviously the solutions that are pitched as well as possible have a better chance of kind of moving forward. So the pitch deck, we have a template and that will be shared with participants on Friday this week during the pitch training session. And that gives each of the teams a guideline on what is expected when you submit that document to the panel of judges. We also, during that session for pitch training, we also share the scoring sheet. So you know, once you've developed the solution, what is being assessed? How do I know I've met all the requirements? So that will be shared with everybody to make sure that you are as equipped as possible to develop a great pitch. And then following that, we have pitch and prototype submission. So the pitch deck, as well as the prototype, is due to be submitted on the 14th of October at midnight. We don't want everyone working late into kind of the night, but we want to give everyone as much time as possible as well to submit a great solution. So your pitch deck and your prototype, whatever kind of phase it's in, is due then for submission on the 14th of October. And then there's a process of shortlisting again. So each team, and there are a lot of you, each team will submit that pitch deck, and then that will go through a process of shortlisting, and 10 teams will be selected to pitch their prototype at a final pitching session, and that will take place in person for those based in Durban, and obviously via video conference for those based outside of Durban, but for those based in Durban, it'll take place at the Innovation Co-Lab on the 21st of October this month. And then, very excitingly, obviously, once we go through that final pitching session, we have an award ceremony, really just to honor everyone's hard work around the Youth Innovation Challenge, and that will take place on the 26th of November this year. The last slide in terms of this presentation is just around the prizes up for grabs. I know we've said it a lot, this isn't a competition, it's more a journey, and we're more interested in what people are learning, what they're taking away, how they're using it to develop themselves and potentially their businesses. But that being said, there are still prizes up for grabs. So we have a first, second and third prize each year. And those prizes include financial support for your innovation. So if you choose, okay, I've come up with this solution, I actually want to take it forward, we give financial support for that. And then it also includes mentorship and training. So we run what's called a startup support program, and we run that on an annual basis. And that program is designed to support innovators, both in furthering a particular innovation, but also just in training innovators on innovation, on business planning, and just to kind of equip innovators as well as possible to be as successful as possible, and enable further innovation down the line. So those prizes are available for first, second, and third prize. And then we have 2 floating trophies that were actually introduced into the Youth Innovation Challenge last year. They're both sponsored by Zutari, and the first floating trophy is for the best team, the team that represents themselves as well as possible. So you should know that in all engagements we have, questions that are asked, the sessions with the partners, we're spending time also watching how teams engage with the program, and so there's a prize up for grabs for that, as well as the best woman in design. We have worked in innovation for a number of years, and it, like a lot of other industries, is very male kind of dominated. There's a lot of reasons behind this, but our heart at Innovate Durban is really to drive kind of the inclusion of women in innovation, and to support women who are innovating. So we've got a floating trophy for the best woman in design, and that is really for the best female participant in the YRC. And again, engaging and making sure that we're watching how participants engage during this process helps us to determine who that prize goes to. And then lastly, there are spot prizes available, and those really are for the best photo of the day. So Sakiwo, you would have seen his face earlier, he is our program coordinator and also marketing guru, and he will be monitoring our social media this week. And so we would love it if you guys, honestly, wherever you are, whether you are watching us from your bed currently, or if you're at the innovation lab with us, we'd love to see photos of you participating, engaging in the Youth Innovation Challenge. If you can hashtag those, hashtag YRC 2020, we will look out for the best photo of the day and award spot prizes and get those to you, whether you are based here in Durban, connecting virtually, or based outside Durban at some point over the next month or 2. So really, I know I've spoken a lot already, but that is just some rules, some regulations, etc. for you before we get started. I see that we have a couple of questions that have come through while I was speaking. I will address those, and then once I've addressed those, we will go on to just our design thinking review session. So the first question was, how many teams are on the program? It's a good question. There are, by last count, 40 teams that are participating on the program. So there's a lot of you, which just means that, one, there's still a lot to learn. Everyone has equal access to the information, to resources, to the partners. But yes, it does mean that there will be quite a heavy shortlisting process as we get further down. So hopefully that pushes you to get as much support and kind of drive as far forward as you can. Someone asked if they are disconnected during the session. If they joined a bit late, will they receive the same info? This session and every session this week is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube at the end of each day. So if you missed something, if you want to go back, you're able to ask, you're able to connect via YouTube and get that information. So that's no problem. And then the last question was whether we can share what other machinery you can use in the collab. So the machinery we have accessible at the collab, we have various 3D printers, we have a laser cutter, we have a vinyl cutter, and we have a large format printer. We also have staff trained in design and operation of those machineries, but obviously for use of those machineries, like I said, a booking form needs to be completed to make sure that everyone has equal access to those. We don't want you to see that machinery and think, I'm just going to use it and I'll build my solution around that machinery. The machinery is there as one of many, many tools. So we really would want everyone to work hard to ensure their solution is the best solution for that challenge. And if then using a laser cutter or using a 3D printer, etc., supports the prototype development phase, it's here, it's accessible to be used, but don't use the machinery for the sake of using the machinery. If you're just interested, we can have a separate discussion about that. The machinery is here to be used. But I really want to encourage us not to be swept up in the fact that we've got access to this machinery, rather just develop the solution, and then if it speaks to it, to then use that solution. So that was all the questions we got. Again, if you do have more questions, please just put them through and we will answer them. We are going to move over to a design thinking review session. And that's really an opportunity for us to review some of the kind of processes around design thinking, elements of design thinking, just to make sure, although everyone got the resource pack and has hopefully been doing their own research, that everyone has really a proper understanding of design thinking. So that should take us about half an hour. And after that, we will be available for questions if there are any questions. And before we get started, though, I am just going to ask everyone for 2 minutes so that I can get a glass of water, because I did not get a glass of water before I started this. And if you're going to listen to me talk for the next half an hour, I'm definitely going to need a glass of water before we continue. So thank you, guys. We will be back in 2 minutes. All right, everyone, I am back. Apologies about that. I'm going to share my screen with everyone again. Hopefully everyone, like I said, did have an opportunity to not only review all the resources sent, but also watch the video that was developed by Zutari. It's important to note that design thinking is an approach. It's not the only approach, but it is incredibly valuable, and for us, something that really is important when developing your solution to understand fully and to use in some way as part of the solution. So really what I want us to be thinking about is how we can use design thinking to develop better innovations, and how we can use design thinking to solve challenges that no one has solved yet. Towards the end of my presentation or my review, I'm going to give you some examples of organizations and companies who have used design thinking to kind of develop incredible businesses or turn their businesses around. So yeah, it's not just that design thinking is nice to have. It's seen businesses grow from a revenue of $200 a week to almost $2 million a week. So yeah, don't take design thinking lightly. So what is design thinking? In simple words, design thinking is a mindset, like I said earlier, that helps you solve problems creatively. The most important thing to know about design thinking is that it has a human-centered core. So it encourages organizations to focus on the people that you're working for, which leads to better product, services, and internal processes. When you sit down to create a solution, this is for a business need, but for a need, the first question should always be, what's the human need behind it? So when you're considering your challenge, when you're sitting down to create a solution for that challenge, what is the human need behind that challenge? Often we see one challenge and we get carried away with that, and we're not actually thinking, there's something deeper, or maybe there's multiple things that are behind this, that are deeper behind this, and considering those things. So really, in employing design thinking, we're pulling together what's desirable from a human point of view with what's technology feasible and economically viable. So something may be desirable from a human point of view, but the technology doesn't exist, or it would bankrupt us to kind of explore. Or potentially it fits in budget, and this is what often happens. The technology is available and it fits into our budget, but nobody actually wants it. So really just making sure we're finding a solution that's desirable and feasible and viable is what design thinking is about. The whole process starts with taking action and understanding the right questions, and really about embracing simple mindset shifts and tackling problems from a new direction. Why is design thinking important? So it can help your team to surface unmet needs of the people you are creating for. So you may see your challenge, you may understand even the human need behind it, but potentially the people you're creating that solution for actually don't even understand some of their needs. So design thinking helps even those people you're creating the solution for better understand their problem or their need. It also reduces the risk associated with launching new ideas. For those who live in Durban, and I use this example a lot when I talk about design thinking, but for those who live in Durban and drive on the M13 that goes through Westville, kind of Pinetown area, you would know that there are probably a dozen pedestrian bridges that cross over the highway. And you would also know that for the most part, those pedestrian bridges aren't used. People run across the highway instead. And so essentially government has spent millions of rand building these bridges. Nobody even uses them. So design thinking really enables you to reduce the risk associated with launching new ideas. That's a very simple example, but if those who were implementing those bridges had employed a design thinking process before building that bridge, they would have realized, you know what, we can spend R1 million building these bridges. No one's going to use them. Let's come up with a better idea that people will use. Like I said, one example. But really, it also generates solutions that are revolutionary, not just incremental. often when we review a process or a product, we can see small kind of solutions or small changes and those are often very necessary, but design thinking is designed to help you really design a solution or make a change that will have a massive impact rather than just a small impact. And then the other thing around why design thinking is important is it helps organizations learn faster, which seems ironic because design thinking is a slow process. It takes time, and often we want to skip it because it's easier we've got an idea for a solution, let's not do the design thinking process. But it speaks to all of these things, and when we implement the process well and properly, we're able to learn faster and create better. So you would have seen from the resource pack that there are three main pillars to design thinking. These pillars are empathy, ideation, and experimentation. I'm not going to go into them too deeply, but really empathy is the foundation of design thinking, and while we said earlier it's got a human-centered core, and it's so important in our design thinking process to employ empathy and to empathize and engage with the people we're creating a solution with or a solution for. Ideation is also one of the core activities of design thinking. The most simple example of ideation is kind of a brainstorming session. There's a lot of different techniques and a lot of different ways to ideate, but it's a really important part of design thinking. And the last pillar of design thinking is experimentation. We've empathized, we've ideated, we've come up with a solution. The only way to know it's good or bad or needs to change is to experiment, to develop a prototype, to test that prototype, to ask the people we're designing for questions, let them engage with the prototype, to make sure, before we spend the millions of rands building the bridge, we have some type of prototype, people can engage with it, and we know whether we should take that next step in developing our solution. So these are the 5 phases. So although those are the 3 pillars, these are the 5 phases of the design thinking process. They in this image, they are linear. So it starts with empathize and ends with test. They don't always look like that. They may look like this. But really, in terms of what goes into each of those stages, the empathize phase, like I said earlier, is about understanding the people that you are developing a solution for. And in order to empathize with people, you have to engage with them. You have to interview them, you have to shadow them, and you have to seek to understand them. It's important we aren't biased or judgmental. Often when we've already come up with a solution, we just want to use the empathize phase to confirm what we think we know. And so the empathize phase is incredibly important, and it's important to approach it in an unbiased, non-judgmental way. After we empathize, we look to define. So define is really to from that empathize phase to define what the actual problem is. You may have chosen your challenge, at the beginning of this process. You may go through an empathize phase, and you may realize that the problem isn't actually what you thought it was, or the challenge isn't actually what the challenge says it is. There may be something deeper, something a little different. So the define phase really is a process of I've empathized, I've understood what people need, and now I can really actually define what my problem is. And then we start to ideate. We start in our teams to share ideas, to come up with different ideas. There's a lot of different tools to ideate. Hopefully you would have read a bunch about them. And this presentation does go into that as well. I'm not going to necessarily share all the tools with you, but this presentation will be sent out, not only available on YouTube, but also sent out to everyone after this session. And then, like I said earlier, an important element of design thinking is experimentation. And so the prototype and test phase speak to that experimentation pillar. And prototyping is as simple as that, developing a prototype of your solution. It doesn't need to be, if your solution is digital, the prototype doesn't actually need to be an app. The prototype might be cardboard and paper and you just drawing up this app. So a prototype doesn't always need to be a fully advanced prototype, because the idea is it's really just to show people something around what your solution is, and then allow them to interact and to engage with it and to test your prototype. The test phase often brings you back either to the prototype or to the ideation phase, where you developed a prototype, you let someone engage with it or use it, or you explain it to someone, and they say to you, okay, I see you did this, but that doesn't actually work for me because of A, B, and C. It allows you to reiterate your prototype, to change your prototype, to make your prototype better. Or if they're engaged and they actually, you know what, this makes no sense to me at all, I don't understand any of this, it allows you to either go back to the ideation phase, come up with better ideas, or to the define phase. Maybe you defined your problem incorrectly. So those are really the 5 phases of design thinking, and often that's the order they happen in, but just because you reach the test phase doesn't mean you've reached the end of your design thinking process. So phase 1, to go into it a bit more deeply, the real answer is, or the real question, should I say, is what do people really care about? It's really important to empathize. I can't kind of harp on that too much. The goal of the empathize phase is to gain a deep understanding of the actual users you are designing for. What moves them, what troubles them, how do they go about their day, what causes friction for them, what are their actual problems, and what is the solution they really need, what is the solution they really need for them. So it's not just about, if I'm designing a solution for pollution, it's not just understanding how pollution negatively impacts them, but it's broader than that. It's understanding their day-to-day lives, because there may be something not directly linked to pollution that they don't think is relevant, but ensuring you're gaining an incredibly deep understanding of people allows you to pick up information that they may not have even realized is vital, but it enables you to create a better solution. So this is just some of the tools around empathy and that kind of phase. We can do user-based studies, observation, user interviews. I'm not going to spend too much time on the tool section because I don't want to keep us here too long. I want to give us more of an opportunity to ask questions. The second phase is the define phase. Some people call it the synthesize phase or the reframe phase. And this is the second phase, and it's focused on defining the problem statement that you are trying to solve for the user. Clearly defining a problem is like pinpointing a North Star in the sky. It guides your decisions, keeps you on track when shiny distractions, like 3D printers, for example, compete for your attention. So when you do get distracted, you'll easily be able to find your way home, just look to your North Star. So the define phase builds on the observations you collected during the empathizing phase, and really you bring your results together, you analyze them, so you come up with a single problem statement. This may be, again, where you look at the challenge you're solving for and you refine it, you change it slightly. We're giving you the free rein to do that. If you do look to do that, bring it to us, ask us, is this the right path I'm on? Should I go back, etc. The definition of your problem statement, it shapes your entire project, your entire solution. So it really is one of the most important kind of processes or phases in the design thinking process. If you get it wrong, you're going to waste precious time. There's not a lot of time. It's this week and then a week and a half before the prototype and final pitch is due. So making sure you've defined your problem as well as possible is incredibly important in this process. So there's a couple of tools you can use to do this. The 4 W's: who, what, where, and why. Who is experiencing the problem? What is the problem? Where does the problem present itself? Why does it matter? I'm not going to go too far into all of that. You can use the 5 whys. And the 5 whys is a technique that is used beyond design thinking. It's used a lot, in fact, in the automotive industry. And it's really just, it's something that kind of 4 and 5-year-olds are really good at doing, constantly asking why. So you may ask, why doesn't someone use the bridge? You may get an answer for that. You question that answer. You don't just go with that answer and say, okay, I can build my solution for that. You ask why to that answer. You may get another answer. You ask why to that answer. And it's really about asking. I mean, you can ask 4, 5, 7, 20 whys, but it's all about digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the real reason behind, for example, why people aren't using the bridge. The third phase is the ideate phase. So this is around quantity over quality. This is the opportunity to come up with the dumbest ideas you have ever come up with. And I'm not joking. One of the tools around the ideation phase is literally called worst idea ever. And so the ideation phase isn't about thinking whether this is viable. Do I know how to build an app even? Do I know how to do this? Do I have the money to do this? Do I have the experience, the expertise, the support, etc., etc.? It's about just coming up with a ton of ideas. It's about challenging the status quo. Just because something is doesn't mean it has to be. It's about thinking outside of the box, and it's about letting your creativity flow. So the goal of this stage, like I said, isn't to come up with a ready-to-go polished solution, but it's about sparking ideas. And you don't need to worry about whether it's feasible or viable or anything like that. The idea is to just generate as many ideas as possible, because the idea behind the ideation phase is that I come up with one terrible idea, but that sparks something else, either in my mind or in one of my team members' minds, and it kind of takes us on a path to eventually coming up with a good solution. So the ideation phase for me is kind of the funnest part around design thinking, and just coming up with ridiculous ideas. So there's 2 main kind of elements to the ideation phase. The first is called divergent thinking. And so you start with a prompt, and your prompt may be the problem statement that you came up with in your define phase. But you start with one prompt, and you generate, like I said, as many solutions as possible. One little sentence, one little word, and you generate as many ideas as possible. And then the next phase is around convergent thinking. So you have all of this, and you kind of converge it. You see what links up to each other, what needs to be thrown out, what needs to be worked on a little bit more, and you converge it into then one solution. So there's, like I said, a lot of different tools around this phase. Here are just some of them listed. You can Google them. You can kind of look into each of them. You can see there the divergent kind of phase, worst idea possible. So there's a lot of different options here that you can use as an individual or as a team through the ideation phase. And then the 4th phase of the process is around prototyping. So prototyping, the phase of the design thinking process, is now kind of the process where you find what is feasible, what is desirable, what is viable, and the niche between that. Something may be feasible, may be desirable for humans, but it may not be economically viable, and it needs to be chucked out. Something may be desirable for humans, we may have the money to do it, but the technology isn't there, it needs to be chucked out. So the prototype phase is about finding your correct solution, and then prototyping it in a way or on a level that is feasible, desirable, and viable, and finding that niche, and then simply testing your ideas. Going back to the bridge again, it's not about building the whole bridge, it's about figuring out how do you prototype this bridge, for example, maybe a difficult thing to prototype. But prototyping your solution so you can easily test, people can easily engage with it. And there are a number of tools. I've only listed 3, but there really are a lot of different tools around the prototyping phase. Storyboarding, paper prototyping, or service prototyping, or role-playing are just 3 tools that you can use to prototype. The important thing here again is that prototypes don't always need to be as advanced as we think they need to be, especially a first prototype. Your second or third prototype may be more advanced, but your first prototype doesn't need to be as advanced as we often think it needs to be. It just needs to be something that people can engage with or participate in somehow, so that you are able to get that feedback from them. And then the last phase within the design thinking process is the test phase. So how do we know whether we've done a great job without asking real users themselves? So this again is why testing is an essential part of the design thinking process, and it's really straightforward. We put the prototype in front of real users, we let them test it, and we gather their feedback. And like I mentioned earlier, the testing phase or testing of the prototype is incredibly important, because it helps you refine your solution or your prototype. You put it in the hands of people, they can tell you, you know, this was awesome, and you'll know to put more work into that, or they'll say, I didn't understand why this was here, or the use of this, or this irritated me, and you know to remove it from your prototype or change it somehow. So it really allows you to refine your prototype. And then, like I said earlier, the results of the testing phase may even mean you need to redefine the problem, and you may realize, you know what, actually we got the problem wrong. People have interacted with this and we've realized this isn't even something they want, and we need to go back and either do more empathizing, or we need to just maybe work a little bit on refining our problem, and it means you may have to start again. So this is my last slide for the design thinking review, but we really just wanted to share with you some of the design thinking success stories. So just to show for you guys the impact design thinking can have. It's not some wishy-washy kind of process that you're having to do, or that we're encouraging you to do, that has no bearing on your solution development. We really want everyone to fully understand the impact design thinking, like the guys from New Eng said, and they've been using design thinking in all their work now. It really can influence your solution development positively, and kind of turn what could have been a mediocre solution into something great and something people really want. So 3 examples just quickly. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. But Stanford University has what's called the D School, and it's short for the Design School, and they're quite a big influential design thinking faculty in America, and they worked with Stanford Hospital to redesign in the process of a day and a half the Stanford Hospital emergency room. Emergency rooms are obviously not great places to be. People don't ever want to be in an emergency room. You're going there because something bad has happened, there's an emergency, and so people's experiences of emergency rooms are never great. So the Stanford Hospital worked with some design thinkers in the D School to redesign and to look at the patient's experience of the emergency room, and redesign the kind of process in engaging with the emergency room, as well as the look and feel of the emergency room, and obviously did some research beforehand and afterwards of people's experience, and kind of was a massive change, and has created kind of a model for emergency rooms that's being kind of employed around the world now. There's an organization called the Clean Team, and they started an NPO that looks at ensuring equitable access to essentially toilets in Ghana. and also employed a design thinking approach, and has found huge success in ensuring people around Ghana, particularly in lower income, poor areas, have access to kind of good sanitation. So it's a great example of the design thinking kind of success story there. And then the one I mentioned a bit earlier on in the session was a company, and that company is Airbnb, who when they were a very small startup, had this idea during the 2008 recession, obviously when people had a lot less money to spend, particularly on luxuries like vacations and hotels and stuff like that. And they started Airbnb, and they were bringing in about $200 a week. So they weren't very successful. They were on the verge of, calling it quits. And one of the founders had UI UX experience, and said to the rest of the team, let's go through a design thinking process. Let's look at what we're trying to do, look at what our solution is, and see if we can redesign it for everyone. And so really they went through that design thinking process, and I'm sure many of you have used Airbnb even at some point. So they went from literally $200 a week business on the verge of shutting down to a multi-billion-dollar business today. So really those three stories I just wanted to share with you guys to ensure you really understand. I know I think everyone's been harping on about it, but the benefit of design thinking in this whole process, and taking the design thinking process very seriously going forward. So that's really that kind of review of the design thinking process for you guys. We have a couple of questions that have come through. I want to reiterate for everyone that the Zutari team will be available for everyone between 1 and 2 today. So this webinar, when we kind of wrap this morning session up, the webinar will stay open. Sakiwo, our project coordinator, and myself will continue to monitor it. You guys can pop in. We will set it up so that you can join via video and ask questions if you'd like, or you can remain using the Q&A or raise hand function as well. But they will be with us from 1 to 2 particularly, but Sakiwo and I will be here for the rest of the day until 2:30. If you have questions in this kind of session as well. So the first question we have was, how do we know we may not be sharing the same ideas in the competition since we sum up to 40 groups? So essentially, how do you know if you are coming up with a solution that's different from someone else's? The simple answer to that is you don't. Even when I look back to last year's YRC, we had teams come up with essentially the same solution, and it was just presented differently, and the prototype was presented differently as well. So again, that may happen, and that's okay if that happens. Even in the business world, people come up with the same solution at the same time, and often for that, it's whoever's quickest to market wins. What then becomes important is making sure that you've done all your background research. You have looked at the market viability, at the feasibility, at if you continue to pursue this beyond just prototype phase, how long development would take, etc., so that when you present your pitch document, you've got answers to every question. And also when you develop your prototype, it looks as good as possible. The harsh reality of the world we live in is that those things are important. How we present our solution, whether we've done that background research is really important. So if someone has landed up coming up with the same solution as you, then you need to make sure you're presenting it as well as possible. Your team is as energized as possible. It's not just about the solution, it's about how you are presenting that solution to the judges. Hopefully that answers your question. Another question was if we want to connect with those who were speaking first or during the earlier session. So important to note, if you look at your agenda that was sent out on Friday as well as this morning, each of the individuals who are partners will be joining us at some point during the week. So you will have an opportunity virtually to ask them questions, to engage with them, to connect with them each day. So make sure you're joining for those sessions. You've even been given the time so that you know when they're with us. If you are wanting to connect in person, particularly with the Software AG team, like Aurelia mentioned earlier, they will be on site on Wednesday morning and Thursday morning. We will still be obviously on Zoom for that, and we will be sharing that link with everyone, and you can still connect virtually. But if you've booked a space, or if you want to book a space still at the lab, you're able to do that and then meet with them or us in person as well. And then the last question was, for our prototypes, are we going to be provided with the components we need, or are we going to buy them ourselves? That is an excellent question. We have, for the machinery I mentioned earlier, all the consumables that you would likely need. Obviously, there's more expensive consumables or something more niche that people may need or may want. We've got kind of all the basic things you would need: MDF, Perspex, filament for the 3D printer. And as long as you've booked your spots, those are all available for everyone to use. Another question has come through. Okay, good question as well. When requesting to enter the competition, we chose two challenges to solve. What do we do? Do we provide solutions to both? No, you are only providing a solution to one challenge. The reason we ask for you to select two challenges is in case we have 40 teams that are focusing on only one challenge. And then we can say, you know what, you can't do challenge one, and you need to focus on challenge your other kind of pick. That is, to speak to the previous question asked, that's to avoid, where possible, having 10 different teams pitching the exact same solution, and enabling you guys to come up with diverse solutions. So you need to solve one challenge. When we reviewed kind of the requested challenges, there was a pretty equal split between each of them, actually. So you're able to choose whether you want to go with your first choice or your second choice. That's up to you guys, but you need to speak just to one of those challenges rather than multiple. There's no other questions that have come through as yet. So that brings kind of our morning session to a close. Like I said earlier, Sakiwa and I will be here if any other questions come through. The Zutari team will be online from 1 until 2, so you can leave the webinar. The webinar will still be running. You can use the same link to join again if you only want to join then. But really, your opportunity, to take in what we've said, to look at your resource packs, and to begin that process of solution development, of design thinking as we begin our workshop week. I'm glad to see that there's a bunch more questions coming through. The first question: do we send our progress to anyone for monitoring? How we go about providing solutions? You do not have to, so you don't have to show us what you're doing until technically you submit your pitch on the 14th. We don't recommend that. We recommend you come to us for feedback like I said, this is why we're here, to answer questions, any questions you have. Are you on the right path? Both us as Innovate Durban as well as the partners. Even in last year's YIC, we were maybe on day 2 or 3. Everyone was as equipped as possible. They already had ideas permeating, and they were coming to us to say, am I on the right path? And we were either able to say, yes, go for it, or, you need to kind of shift a little bit. So we definitely recommend both asking us and the partners whether we think you're on the right path. Maybe not every partner will be able to answer you, but hopefully they'll be able to give you kind of some bit of advice. Another question, are you able to change the idea you applied with? No, you need to either select your first or your second choice, unfortunately, but don't let that dissuade you. I'm sure you will come up with a great solution. A question around the 14th of October. So the 14th of October, will it be online or do we need to be at the YIC venue? So on the 14th of October is when everyone is submitting their pitch decks. That and then your prototype is submitted. Obviously the prototype would just be, if it's digital, the digital, access to the digital version, or if it's physical, kind of equipment or a piece of machinery, for example, we would request images of that, and those are submitted obviously via email on the 14th of October. And then the last question I have at the moment, when it comes to building the prototypes, how different is the storyboarding method from the PowerPoint approach that you discouraged? That is a very excellent question. So what I would say is that the storyboarding approach is what I would view as a first prototype. I would not recommend submitting your first prototype on the 14th of October. Storyboarding is a great prototyping tool, but it's really a first prototyping tool. You can do it, I would recommend it, but then when you kind of, develop my second prototype or my reiterated prototype, we would recommend moving away from that and having a more physical prototype. Fazila, that was a good question. Should we consider cost of building the project for future, or should we be innovative and open-minded as possible? Great question, guys. You're gonna have me at the end of the day with no voice. And so you should definitely consider the cost of building the project for the future. I don't want to discourage epic ideas. Just because something will cost 10 million Rand doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue that as a proposed solution. You should just make sure that if it costs 10 million Rand, there are investors or funders or customers that are so interested in your solution that they're willing to spend the money, invest the money, give you the funding so that you're able to develop that prototype. So make sure that what you're developing is ultimately something that someone is keen on and would be able to fund or purchase, etc. But that doesn't mean we don't want you to be as innovative and open-minded as possible. Come up with epic, ridiculous ideas. Just make sure that someone in the world is keen to support it. Bandile, are there individuals who will be providing support that we will be liaising with directly with other than Sakio and yourself, mentors per se? I imagine having such a big cohort could make it difficult to deal with all the support we require. It's a good question, Bandile. We do have a larger group of people here, particularly for prototyping development. So if you're using the Innovation Collab to develop your prototype, we have people trained on each of the machineries who will be accessible for advice, for design advice, for support. We also do encourage you to, like I said earlier, chat to the partners, particularly the Zutari guys are often keen and willing to engage outside of kind of the given hours. So sending them a WhatsApp message wouldn't be a problem. But we also, the YRC workshop week is the only thing that we are doing this week. So we are available consistently and constantly, and we do have a bigger team than just online. So don't stress, Vandile, we are here for you, and we will be able to support everyone definitely in their engagements. And then another question, is it okay or allowed to connect with one of the companies, Zutari Domino, you partner with, in case one needs any guidance in the solution that they have provided, so it relates to engineering or has a protocol that one has to follow in the law firm? I'm not sure I fully understand that. So essentially, from my understanding, it's the same as the previous question, or similar to the previous question. Yes, it's okay to connect and to engage with those guys. In fact, it's encouraged to connect and engage with those guys, and they are all here to support the kind of solution development process. So the easiest way to engage with them is to join during each kind of session during the day where they've been allocated, but we can share also contact details with you. If you're able to pop them a message or an email, they will get back to you. We will, yeah. But if you do have specific questions, to give them to us first, and we will kind of guide you in the right direction, or may be able to support you in answering that question as well. A good example in answering this question is our YRC winner from 2017, Ntando. He has a company called Sky High Innovations, and during the YRC he developed a prototype of a no-touch tap. So it's a tap you can operate with your foot, and he got a lot of support from the Zutari guys during that session. In order to develop that, he had no engineering expertise, and they gave him a lot of support, and he actually ended up winning the YRC, if I'm not mistaken. So I have hopefully answered all your questions so far. We, like I said earlier, are still available until 2:30 for any questions. Those who are online, like I said, you can pop off later. There's pop off and pop in later. There's no more actual content in terms of presentations for the rest of the day, but our team will be available until 2:30, and the Zutari team will be available from 1 until 2. I am going to make sure everything at the lab is good, so I will pop off for about 5 minutes